Back inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, part of our spring football series. We go around the conference, and today highlighting the Utah Utes. So we head out to Salt Lake City to welcome in new Utah head coach, Morgan Scalley. Coach, welcome to the program.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Man,
Football is coming around the corner, isn't it?
It's here. It's here, Coach. And we're so excited to have you as a head coach operating this program. And, man, you've been there a long time. So give our audience a taste of who is Morgan Scalley.
Oh, man. That's a big one. I would say I am a lot of fun. I'm competitive as they get. I'm Utah through and through. Been coaching at this place since 2006. So played from '01 to '04. My logo has never changed. It will never change, hopefully, until they kick me out of here. But absolutely love this place and what it has to offer young men.
Obviously being the head coach and waiting, this day was coming, but it feels like the circumstances surrounding it were a little bit different than maybe you had anticipated.
Yeah, no question. But you know what? It is what it is. I have so much respect and love for Kyle Whittingham, and I know he's going to do amazing things at Michigan. And am excited and grateful that the University of Utah had faith in me to take over the reins. Excited for this new staff, for the players that we got in the transfer portal. It's been an unbelievable offseason, but definitely very hectic when it all started out. And, when you're being told your first game is going to be the bowl game in Las Vegas, make sure you keep your guys out of trouble. So that was interesting.
Well, just to dominate the bowl game in the way that you guys did, I think is a great starting point. You've got your quarterback back. You guys had probably a little bit busier offseason than you had anticipated in terms of roster turnover and having to hit the portal. So what are you most excited about as you look at your team?
Oh, I'm excited about both quarterbacks. You got Bird Ficklin also, who did an amazing job, and Jason was great with how he utilized their skill sets, and both of them have continued to develop during the offseason. Offensive line, defensive line, that's where we really ended up needing to make our money with the development of those guys during the offseason. First of all, getting them in the transfer portal, getting the guys developed that we already had in the program, but also adding, from the high school ranks, from the transfer portal. So Greg Argist has done an unbelievable job in the weight room, and our coaching staff. I don't know that I could have gotten a better offensive line coach to replace Jim Harding than Jordan Gross, a guy that's played at the highest level, that is in the Ring of Honor for the Carolina Panthers. He's an unbelievable teacher, a good man. And so this is going to be a big spring to see who ends up stepping up in those starting roles, both on the offensive line and defensive line. Added Enoke Brechterfield, who is no stranger to elite performance in college football, particularly the defensive line. Coached Aaron Donald, has been all over the place in college football, and really, brings a ton in terms of experience and teaching at the defensive line position as well.
Sticking on Jordan and the O-line, you're going to lose two guys that are going to be about to be first-round picks. Not easy to replace, NFL first-round picks. So, what do you anticipate seeing out of the competition this spring along the offensive line, and kind of, again, with Jordan Gross, who's, as you said, in the Ring of Honor and one of the great, offensive linemen we've seen in the NFL within the last couple of decades. How is he going to help with that?
Well, I'm really excited. If you looked at the bowl game, we had both those guys didn't play in the bowl game, and we were still able to be efficient and very efficient, and do some very good things with the offensive line. Zero Williams stepped up on the outside. You had Keith Olson, and you had one of our starters, other starters as a senior, went down. So essentially by the second quarter, you were seeing what we were going to have this season. in terms of the offensive line. I thought all of them did an amazing job. You add Cedric Jefferson from the portal, who was with Montana State as they won a championship. You add Kelvin Obot, a 5-star recruit, I think the highest rated recruit ever at the University of Utah. And he's every bit of what he's advertised to be. Spencer Fano came in, played as a freshman. I would anticipate the same thing from Kelvin, depending on how he develops this offseason. But that's our job. That's jobs of coaches. It's to recruit, develop, and manage. And you have to adapt or die in this business of transfer portal and change and the turnover that you see with rosters. So I'm, very pleased with what our staff did during the off season. And the good thing about this game is you can't hide. Eventually you do have to play the game. So we'll find out if we're ready or not.
Talking with Utah head football coach Morgan Scalley here on Big 12 today, part of our spring football series as we highlight the Utes. You hired Kevin McKiven as your offensive coordinator from Utah State, bring over a really prolific receiver in Braden Pagan, who was a big vertical threat guy for them, almost 1,000 yards. So in what ways could the offense be even more explosive this year?
Well, I do think that we have a better receiving core than we've ever had here at the University of Utah. Not only Braden Pagan, but Kyrie Scholes from San Jose State. You look at what Larry Simmons did last year on the back half of the season and the plays that he made. I think a name that people don't, haven't heard as much, but I'm expecting big things from is Ricky Johnson. He's a transfer from Mississippi State. You got Creed Whitmore that stepped up last year at the slot receiver position. So all these tools and Dadron Zipper was a guy that was a big time receiver for us, didn't play all of last year because of injury. You add some of the receiving tight ends, Will Money, Noah Benny, Kenai Lopes. And then, with what we're able to do with some of our, what we call our Rhino tight ends, it's a fun package when you look at all the different things that you can do with your skill players, but also with these bigger players. And not, much is going to be what looks different from what you saw last year with Jason's offense. Kevin is unbelievable at what he does, has been successful wherever he's been, has played with 21 personnel sets, 10 personnel sets. He's all about taking your best athletes and really getting them the ball, finding ways to it's about the players, not the plays. And that's what I love about what I'm seeing from Kevin.
I'm so curious because, in the lead up to you taking over, we heard so much about how you were similar and had been similar to Kyle. What makes you different?
Oh man, I think there's a lot about what makes me different. And I loved, listening to Mike Vrabel with the Patriots. I think you can have different personalities. You need to have different personalities, but as long as you have the same mentality, that's what you're looking for. Both Kyle and I want to win, and we're competitive, and whatever it takes to get there. Now, where we're very similar is physicality is something that you cannot win a championship if you're not physical.
Yeah.
And so you have to practice physical. Otherwise you won't get there. But you also have to be smart and get to the party healthy as well. Where, I don't know that I've thought about how am I different than Kyle as opposed to what's my thought on how to win.
Yeah.
And you have to be physical. You have to be innovative. You can't think that you have all the answers. What worked one season may not work, but to me, I think people get caught up in scheme at the expense of behavior. I could have an A+ scheme, C- behavior, have guys that can't tackle, can't wrap up, can't plant and drive, can't play with the inside hands, the behaviors that it takes to win. I could have C minus behavior, A plus scheme, but my results will reflect C minus. You know, because the scheme doesn't matter if you can't execute. So to me, it's defining for your players, what does it take? What does it take to be elite at each position technically? And then we got to be great teachers and hold those guys accountable to it.
Man, Coach, when you start talking about offensive personnel and rhino packages, you sound like an offensive coordinator. I thought you were a defensive guy.
I listen, being a defensive guy for as long as I've been, you know what gives you fits. So what's been fun for me is being in the offensive staff room, letting them know, hey, you should try this, or this would give me a headache, and so kind of bouncing ideas off of Kevin. And in the process, my defensive coordinator, Colton Swan, is completely livid with me. Why are you telling him all this? But I've always believed in collaborating and picking an offensive coordinator's mind and what gives you fits. How are you going to protect this? When you see this look, what is your answer? So again, it's been a lot of fun to be able to sit in an offensive room and bounce ideas off of them and give them feedback as well.
Last one, Coach. Want to just get your thoughts on your defense, because when you were the DC, like every year, it didn't matter who Utah lost or who they had coming back. You just knew that Utah was going to be one of the best defenses in the country. So what does this version of Utah's defense look like?
It's same schematically. Colton's going to have his different things that he likes to do, but ultimately we have the same philosophy. So not much is going to change schematically. And again, it's all about the players. Good players make good coaches. So as long as we do a great job recruit and develop, Colton Swan is as good of a teacher as I've ever seen. Sharif Shaw at the corner spot. We had little turnover on the defensive staff. So I think you're going to see consistency there, just new faces. I'm so excited for the depth we have at the linebacker position, the safety position, corner, back, and defensive tackle is really where we're going to have to make our money this offseason in terms of how we develop and teach. Defensive end position, Lance Holtzclaw, Cash Dillon, Ethan Day that we brought in from the portal, a freshman, PJ Taki, who's making huge strides. I'm going to forget names here and there, but ultimately, at the defensive tackle spot and corner spot, that's where I'm excited this spring to see who steps up.
Well, man, we are super pumped that we finally got to meet you, and just so excited about all your success. And now you're the head coach at Utah, and welcome to that role. And thanks again for your time.
I appreciate it. It's nice to speak to people when you're 1-0, because that a loss is going to come later on down the line, and a pat on the back isn't too far from a kick in the butt. So take it all in stride.
You're undefeated, and we'll keep pushing that narrative. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank
That
you.
is Utah head coach Morgan Scalley here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, part of our spring football series as we highlight the Utah Utes today. You're listening to us exclusively on TuneIn and watching us on Big 12 Studios.